In the NFL, the draft is supposed to be a factory of hope. But let's be real, for some teams, it's become more like a graveyard of ambition. For years, and I mean years, the Las Vegas Raiders have walked up to that podium dreaming of finding their guy, their franchise quarterback, only to walk away with another name on a long list of what-ifs. Another year, another season of uncertainty. But this year felt different. With the number one overall pick, they didn't just have a choice, they had a chance, a real chance to completely rewrite their story. This is the story of the pick that just might save the Raiders. And that's really the question, isn't it? It's the question on every Raiders fan's mind, echoing from the front office all the way to the tailgates in Vegas. See, a true franchise quarterback, they do more than just win games. They sell jerseys, they pack stadiums, they define the whole identity of a team for a decade, maybe more. They become the face of the city. The Raiders have been searching for that cornerstone, watching other teams find theirs, building for the future while Vegas felt kind of stuck in the present. But with that first overall pick, the power was finally, definitively in their hands. So, did they use it to finally flip the script? To really understand the pressure that was on this one single pick, you have to look at the scars. Every Raiders fan has a name that makes them cringe. Jamarcus Russell probably being the most infamous cautionary tale in the entire history of the draft. These weren't just bad picks. They were anchors that dragged the whole franchise down for years, setting them back with massive contracts and getting almost nothing back on the field. And the quarterback position, specifically, has been this revolving door of stopgaps, journeymen, and just broken dreams. So this draft wasn't just about finding a talented player. It was about trying to break a generational curse. And look, this pain isn't some ancient history. We're talking about very recently. The Raiders have been right there, on the outside looking in, so close but never close enough. They saw what C.J. Stroud was becoming and reportedly tried to make a huge move up the draft board, only to watch him become an absolute superstar for the Texans. They had connections to Jaden Daniels, made a real run at him, but just couldn't get the deal done. They even had to watch Bo Nix, a guy a lot of people thought was a reach, get taken just ahead of their spot, and then lead his team to an AFC championship game. Every single one of those was like a fresh gut punch, a reminder of what the Raiders were missing. But this year, everything changed. No more hoping a player falls to them, no more desperate trade calls. With the number one pick, they controlled their own destiny. They could finally get their guy, Fernando Mendoza. So you're facing that history of heartbreak. You have the immense pressure of the number one pick. How do you make sure that this time is different? Well, for General Manager John Spytek and his front office, the answer was to just throw out the old playbook of high-risk, high-reward gambles. This was not going to be about falling in love with a guy's pro day workout or some flashy highlight reel. No, this was about building an airtight case, a meticulous, evidence-based process that was designed to leave zero room for error. It was a promise to the fan base to get it right once and for all. And this wasn't just some internal memo or a throwaway line he said at a press conference. GM John Spike put his reputation on the line, publicly. He said, "We had a great process and promised ourselves, the ownership and fans, that we would do this the right way." That last part, including the fans, that's so key. It was a direct acknowledgement of all the past failures, and it was a public vow to rebuild the trust that had been worn down over years and years of draftee disappointment. He wasn't just saying, trust us. He was saying, hold us accountable to this process. So what does doing it the right way actually look like? Well, step one, you learn from the past. That means doing deep, exhaustive postmortems on why guys like Jamarcus Russell failed. Was it a character issue they missed? A problem with his mechanics under pressure they didn't diagnose? They had to face their own biases. Step two, make a promise. We just heard it from Spytek. You create public accountability. You raise the stakes inside your own building. Step three is the real grind. Check every single box. We're not just talking about watching game tape. We're talking about talking to a prospect's high school janitor, his college equipment manager, anyone who can give you a piece of the character puzzle. It means putting him through hours of psychological profiling, grilling him on a whiteboard to test his football knowledge under stress. You check every single box. And if you do all of that work, if you truly commit to that insane level of detail, you get to step four. The choice becomes easy. It becomes undeniable. As Spytek later said about Mendoza, he made it pretty easy for us. A perfect process eliminates the guesswork. And so, after all the analysis and the anguish, after months of dissection and debate, that process led them to one name. The player who didn't just check every box on their list, but kind of redefined what the boxes should even be. The new face of the franchise, the beacon of hope, the Heisman Trophy winner, Fernando Mendoza. Now look, this isn't some project pick based on raw potential. You're looking at a resume that was built for this exact moment. He's not just a Heisman winner, which means he was the best college player in the country. He's also a national champion. That means he has performed on the biggest stage, under the absolute brightest lights, and led his team to victory. So many top prospects have never experienced that. He makes history as the first Cuban-American quarterback drafted #1 overall. What a huge cultural moment for the league and for Raider Nation. And he joins this incredibly rare club of Heisman winners drafted by the Raiders, putting his name right alongside franchise-defining legends like Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, and Tim Brown. This isn't just talent, this is pedigree. But the excitement isn't just about trophies and history. It's about dominant, undeniable production on the field. In his championship season, Mendoza threw for 41 touchdowns. Now that number, 41, is impressive on its own, but it's how he got there that really sets him apart. This isn't a guy who pads his stats in garbage time against weak teams. When you break down the film, a huge chunk of those scores came in the biggest moments, on third down, in the red zone, in the fourth quarter when the game was on the line. He's a master at manipulating safeties with his eyes to open up passing lanes, and he has this elite touch on deep throws down the sideline. And maybe most importantly, as we're about to see, he did all of that while being incredibly careful with the football, a trait the Raiders have desperately needed at quarterback for a very, very long time. Of course, the front office can fall in love with a pick. The resume can look perfect on paper, but none of that really matters if you don't win over the fan base. And for the Raiders, that means winning over one of the most passionate, loyal, and, let's be honest, demanding fan bases in all of sports. So what was the verdict from Raider Nation when Roger Goodell announced the pick? It was immediate, it was unified, and it was absolutely electric. This reaction here from Brandy Flores just captures something so powerful that goes way beyond the football field. She points out his heritage, making him the third Latino QB ever drafted #1 and the very first of Cuban-American descent. For a fan base as diverse and as proud as the Raiders, this creates an instant, deep connection. It's this feeling that he's not just some hired gun coming to town. He's a reflection of the community he's now representing. That's powerful stuff. And then you get the pure, unfiltered optimism. I love this tweet from Joe. It says it all. The chip is basically ours. Now, yeah, that might sound like hyperbole, but it perfectly captures the psychological shift that a true franchise quarterback gives a fan base. Suddenly, the goal isn't just, let's make the playoffs or let's have a winning season. Nope, the expectation immediately becomes championships. That's the power of a single pick. It completely recalibrates what you believe is possible. This one from King Nutty is all about the energy, the attitude. It's time, Fernando has arrived. All caps. It's a declaration. This isn't just hope, this is swagger. It feels like the return of that classic Raiders persona. Confident, intense, ready for a fight. For years, the team's been searching for an identity, and it seems like in one single moment, Mendoza's arrival just unlocked that dormant, unapologetic confidence that defines Raider Nation. But it's not just the fans. The excitement is being validated by experts who've literally been in those shoes. Heisman winner and analyst Robert Griffin III breaks it all down. He starts with the resume. Heisman, national champ. Then he hits us with that staggering stat line we talked about. 41 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. That's a nearly 7-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, which is it's elite at any level of football. And then he sums up Mendoza's playing style with this perfect, unforgettable description. Tougher than a $2 steak. That's football poetry right there. It means he's got poise when the pocket is collapsing. He's willing to stand in there and take a huge hit to deliver a throw, and he's got the grit to bounce right back up. It is the perfect blend of surgical precision and old-school toughness. That is a professional seal of approval. So the Raiders navigated their past failures. They executed this meticulous, exhaustive process, and they drafted a player with a championship pedigree and the numbers to back it all up. The fan base and the experts, they're all united in their belief they got their man. Which brings us all the way back to our original question. Can one pick erase years and years of heartbreak? Well, for the first time in a long, long time in Las Vegas, the answer feels like a resounding yes. The only question left is this just the start of a winning season? Or is this the dawn of a new dynasty? So what do you think? What's your take on the Fernando Mendoza pick? Will he live up to all this hype and bring the Raiders back to glory? Let us know what you think down in the comments. We really do read every single one. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive and you want more explainers on all the biggest stories happening in the league, do us a huge favor and subscribe to NFL Nexus and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out more than you know, and it makes sure you won't miss any of our future content. And hey, one last thing. For all you dedicated fans out there who are looking for another way to support what we do here at NFL Nexus, we've actually created a series of football-themed coloring books. They're a really fantastic, kind of relaxing way to show your team pride, and honestly, they're perfect for fans of all ages, for your kids, your grandkids, or even just for yourself. If you're interested, you can check them out using the link right down there in the description. Your support is what allows us to keep making these deep dive explainers for you every single week. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.